Imagine standing at a crossroads deep in the night, the cold wind whispering secrets you're too afraid to hear. On one path lies a warm, glowing refuge, a cocoon of familiar beliefs, comforting stories and safe illusions. On the other, a shadowed forest where the truth waits, raw and unyielding, promising liberation but demanding sacrifice. Why, when the price of truth is so high, do most people willingly turn back toward comfort? This isn't just a simple choice. It's a silent battle waged inside your mind and soul, a struggle that has perplexed the greatest minds across centuries. Carl Jung, the pioneering psychologist who mapped the unconscious, described this conflict as the dance between the ego and the shadow, the parts of ourselves we deny, but that quietly rule our deepest fears. Friedrich Nietzsche warned us of the abyss staring back when we dare to confront reality without filters. Spiritual leaders like Eckhart Tolle remind us that the present moment holds the painful yet liberating power to shatter illusions. And Albert Einstein, in his humble wisdom, said, "The truth is what stands the test of experience, yet experience often teaches us that truth can be terrifying." Why do we prefer to dwell in comforting lies rather than face unsettling truths? Is it a form of self-preservation, or are we trapped in an evolutionary instinct designed to avoid pain? Perhaps it's more than that. It's the subtle, invisible force of fear, anxiety, and identity protection that drives us deeper into the embrace of the known. But what if this refuge is not safe at all? What if the very act of choosing comfort over truth slowly erodes your freedom and authentic self? This question isn't just philosophical. It touches your everyday reality, your relationships, your inner peace. It challenges the way you think about courage, honesty, and growth. And it asks, are you ready to confront the uncomfortable, the hidden, the inconvenient, to face the shadows Jung spoke of, and discover what lies beneath the surface of your comfort? Stay with me, because next we'll dive into the hidden problem that traps so many in this cycle. We'll explore the psychological roots and philosophical depth of why truth is so hard to embrace, and how it shapes not only you but the world around you. If you're ready to challenge what you think you know, hit that like button and subscribe. This journey isn't for the faint-hearted, but it could change everything. Beneath the surface of our everyday choices lies a hidden force, an unseen labyrinth where comfort and truth clash with profound consequences. This conflict is far more than a fleeting hesitation. It is the battleground of the human psyche, deeply rooted in psychological defenses and philosophical dilemmas that have shaped human existence for millennia. To truly understand why most people choose comfort over truth, we must venture into the shadows of our own minds and the collective consciousness that governs us. Carl Gustav Jung once said, "One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious." The darkness he speaks of is the shadow, the parts of ourselves we reject, deny, or remain ignorant of, often because these truths unsettle our fragile sense of identity. To confront the truth means to confront the shadow, to peel back the layers of denial and fear that keep us imprisoned within familiar illusions. This process is terrifying because the ego, the I we so carefully construct, resists any threat to its stability. It's a primal defense mechanism, wired through evolution to protect us from psychological pain, even if that protection ultimately limits our growth. Friedrich Nietzsche's philosophy offers another piercing insight. His concept of the will to power reveals how much humans strive to dominate their environment and themselves, often through control over narratives and perceptions. Nietzsche understood that the truth is often inconvenient, disruptive, and can destabilize the very foundations of the self. Thus, many unconsciously choose narratives that bolster their power and security, rather than those that unravel their illusions. This isn't mere weakness. It's a survival strategy embedded in the human condition. Philosophers like Arthur Schopenhauer have also illuminated this struggle. He described human existence as dominated by suffering and the avoidance of pain. We seek comfort as a refuge from life's inherent discomfort, a refuge that often comes at the price of truth. In his words, all truth passes through 3 stages. First, it is ridiculed. Second, it is violently opposed. Third, it is accepted as being self-evident. The painful resistance to truth is part of a universal process, but many remain stuck in those first 2 stages, unable or unwilling to endure the discomfort that true understanding demands. On a psychological level, this choice is reinforced by cognitive biases and emotional wiring. The brain is not a neutral observer. It is an active constructor of reality, favoring information that confirms existing beliefs, a phenomenon known as confirmation bias. Daniel Kahneman, the Nobel-winning psychologist, demonstrated how our minds are prone to System 1 thinking, fast, automatic, and emotionally charged, rather than the slower, more deliberate System 2 thinking that truth often requires. This means that emotionally comfortable narratives, even if false, often win out over hard truths simply because they demand less mental effort and emotional upheaval. Existential philosophers like Jean-Paul Sartre and Viktor Frankl explored how the search for meaning intertwines with this dilemma. Sartre emphasized the anguish of radical freedom, the terrifying realization that we are entirely responsible for our choices and must create meaning in an indifferent universe. Frankl, a Holocaust survivor and psychiatrist, described how meaning can be found even in suffering, but only if one confronts reality honestly. This confrontation is rare because it requires us to abandon comforting illusions and face existential voids that most prefer to ignore. Societal and cultural conditioning compounds this internal struggle. Aldous Huxley's dystopian vision in Brave New World is not merely fiction, but a mirror reflecting our own world's tendency to pacify masses with distraction and superficial pleasures, suppressing uncomfortable truths to maintain order. Culture shapes what we consider acceptable truths, often favoring consensus and conformity over radical honesty. The pressure to belong can override the desire to seek truth, as social acceptance often depends on maintaining shared illusions. These philosophical and psychological roots come together to form a complex web where fear, identity, and survival intertwine. The hidden problem is not just ignorance or laziness. It is a profound internal conflict, a dance between the desire for safety and the longing for authenticity. This conflict shapes not only individual behavior but emotional states, often leading to anxiety, denial, and fragmented identities. The choice of comfort over truth becomes a kind of psychic anesthesia, numbing us to deeper realities that threaten our emotional equilibrium. Yet within this struggle lies a subtle, almost imperceptible call for awakening, a whisper beneath the noise of denial. This call speaks to the part of you that senses something more profound beneath your everyday experience, the part that yearns for genuine freedom, growth, and meaning beyond the superficial. It is a tension that propels humanity forward, even as it pulls us back into familiar shadows. But what are the consequences of this hidden problem, this collective retreat into comfort and avoidance? How does it shape the fabric of our personal lives and society as a whole? And what happens when the comforting veil is finally lifted? In the next part, we'll uncover the unseen consequences that lie beneath the surface, revealing how this choice silently shapes your reality in ways you may never have imagined. Prepare to confront a truth that is as unsettling as it is urgent, because what comes next could change everything. The cost of choosing comfort over truth is not always obvious. It seeps quietly into the fabric of your life, like a slow poison. You don't realize you're drinking until the damage becomes undeniable. This unseen consequence is a shadow that stretches far beyond the individual, weaving itself into the very structures of society, culture, and even your own mind. It's the silent architect of illusions that shape reality. Illusions you don't question because they feel safe, familiar, and essential to your survival. Neuroscience helps us understand why this happens. Your brain, as explored by pioneers like Antonio Damasio and Joseph Ledoux, is wired to protect you from pain above all else. The amygdala, the seat of fear and emotional memory, triggers a rapid response to threats, real or perceived, ensuring survival by favoring comfort over confrontation. This hardwired survival mechanism evolved in a world where immediate physical danger was the main threat. Today, however, the threats are often psychological, truths that unsettle your worldview, challenge your beliefs, and force you to face uncomfortable realities. The brain interprets these truths as threats to survival, activating the same fight or flight responses as a physical predator. So your mind retreats into comfort. using cognitive biases like the backfire effect and motivated reasoning to defend itself against the uncomfortable. But the unseen consequences don't stop at your personal nervous system. Philosopher Michel Foucault described how power operates not only through overt force, but through subtle cultural norms and knowledge systems that define what is true and what is false. These norms shape collective consciousness, creating social realities based on accepted illusions. When societies prefer comforting lies over difficult truths, the consequences ripple outward, normalizing denial, breeding complacency, and allowing harmful ideologies to fester unchecked. This phenomenon was anticipated by Aldous Huxley, who envisioned a world addicted to pleasure and distraction, a world where the truth is drowned in noise and spectacle. Today's social media and 24/7 news cycles often serve as conduits for these distractions, reinforcing comfort zones and suppressing critical thinking. On a psychological level, this retreat into comfort fosters a pervasive sense of alienation and anxiety. Viktor Frankl, who spent years in Nazi concentration camps, wrote extensively about the existential vacuum, the profound emptiness that occurs when people lose a sense of meaning. When comfort is prioritized over truth, the meaning is often shallow, ephemeral, and externally imposed. The result is an inner dissonance, a quiet despair beneath the surface of apparent stability. You might appear calm, successful, or even content, but inside there can be a gnawing feeling that something essential is missing, a subconscious signal that your psyche is out of alignment with reality. Culturally, the consequences are equally disturbing. When entire populations choose comfort over truth, societies become vulnerable to manipulation and control. George Orwell's 1984 painted a chilling picture of this vulnerability, where truth becomes malleable, history is rewritten, and freedom is sacrificed for the illusion of security. This dystopia is not just fiction, but a warning echoed by Hannah Arendt, who warned about the banality of evil, how ordinary people, through denial and complacency, enable horrific systems to thrive. The subtle erosion of truth weakens the foundations of democracy, justice, and social progress. The emotional weight of this reality can be overwhelming. Imagine living in a world where your thoughts, beliefs, and feelings are filtered through layers of denial and self-deception, where every challenge to your worldview is met with resistance, not curiosity, where the pursuit of comfort blinds you to the richness and depth of life's truths. This is not just a personal tragedy, it is a collective crisis. And it is precisely because these consequences are unseen, silent, and insidious that they are so dangerous. Yet within this crisis lies a spark, a restless energy that refuses to be silenced. It is the same energy that has driven philosophers, psychologists, and spiritual leaders like Carl Jung, Viktor Frankl, Aldous Huxley, and Eckhart Tolle to seek and speak uncomfortable truths. This spark is your inner voice, urging you to awaken from the comforting slumber and reclaim your power. How do you break free from this invisible trap? How do you ignite a rebellion within your own mind and soul against the seductive pull of comfort? The answer lies ahead in the next part of this journey, the rebellion. Here, we'll explore radical shifts in perspective, counterintuitive strategies, and timeless wisdom that empower you to reclaim control and rewrite the narratives that bind you. If you feel that restless spark flickering inside you, take a moment to like this video and subscribe so you don't miss what comes next. The rebellion is not easy, but it is necessary, and it begins with a single step. Stay with me. Breaking free from the comforting cage of illusion is not a gentle process. It is a rebellion, raw and radical, against everything you have been taught to believe about safety, identity, and truth. It requires a seismic shift in perspective, a willingness to walk into the unknown armed only with courage and curiosity. Viktor Frankl, whose experience surviving the Holocaust gave him unparalleled insight into human resilience, taught that meaning is not given to us, but created through how we face suffering and truth. His rebellion was not against the external horrors, but against the inner surrender to despair. This internal revolt, this refusal to capitulate to false comfort, is the first spark of liberation. Carl Jung's journey into the shadow also offers a roadmap for this rebellion. He did not advocate escaping discomfort but embracing it fully, the hidden, dark parts of ourselves that we fear. Jung believed that only by integrating the shadow, acknowledging the fears, the anger, the pain we bury, can we become whole. This integration is not a defeat, but a reclaiming of power, a refusal to let unconscious forces dictate your life. Imagine the relief and strength that come from owning every part of yourself, even those you once rejected. This process transforms fear into fuel and discomfort into growth. The rebellion against comfort is also a rebellion against conditioned thought itself. Jiddu Krishnamurti, a visionary spiritual teacher, challenged the very foundation of mental conditioning, urging a radical freedom from patterns and beliefs inherited from society and culture. He proposed that true truth can never be grasped by an intellect burdened with prejudice and conditioning. This means breaking the chains of automatic reactions and preconceived notions that trap you in a loop of denial. Imagine waking up each day with a mind uncluttered by fear and social programming, a mind that can see clearly without filters. Historically, rebellion has always been met with resistance because it threatens established power structures. But the rebellion to reclaim truth is not about overthrowing governments or institutions alone. It is about overthrowing the governments within your own mind. This internal revolution requires discipline, mindfulness, and radical honesty. It means questioning your assumptions relentlessly, sitting with discomfort without fleeing, and embracing vulnerability as a source of strength. Practically, how do you begin this rebellion? One powerful tool is mindfulness, the practice of observing your thoughts and feelings without judgment. Jon Kabat-Zinn, a pioneer in mindfulness-based stress reduction, showed how this simple practice rewires the brain, weakening automatic defensive patterns and fostering clarity. When you learn to witness your mental discomfort without immediate reaction, you create a space where truth can emerge naturally. Another key strategy comes from cognitive behavioral techniques that challenge distorted thinking. Psychologist Aaron Beck demonstrated that by identifying and disputing false beliefs, you weaken their hold over your emotions and behaviors. Imagine dismantling the walls of denial brick by brick, revealing the raw, unfiltered reality beneath. Stories of those who have rebelled inspire and guide us. Nelson Mandela, who endured decades of imprisonment, embodied the power of truth and reconciliation. Instead of retreating into bitterness, he faced the brutal reality of apartheid and chose forgiveness, transforming a nation. His rebellion was not only political but deeply personal, a refusal to be consumed by comfort-seeking despair. This rebellion also requires cultivating a community or support system that encourages truth over comfort. The philosopher Hannah Arendt warned of the dangers of isolation in the face of totalitarianism. Similarly, personal rebellion thrives in connection and shared courage. Seek those who challenge you, who ask hard questions, who walk the path of honesty with you. The road is far from easy. The pull of comfort is strong, and the initial steps into truth often feel like walking through fire. But each step forward dismantles the illusions that bind you, revealing a landscape of freedom and authenticity. Imagine living a life where your thoughts, emotions, and actions align with a deeper truth rather than superficial comfort. A life marked by clarity, courage, and creative power. The rebellion is not a one-time event, but a continual process of waking up, questioning, and choosing truth anew. It demands patience with yourself, a willingness to fall and rise repeatedly. But it also promises a profound transformation, the emergence of a self not defined by fear, denial, or illusion, but by awareness and integrity. As you prepare for the final step in this journey, the ultimate truth awaits. A revelation so powerful it will change how you see yourself and the world forever. This truth will not comfort you in the old way, but will offer a new kind of freedom, one that transcends fear and illusion alike. Stay with me for the next part, where we uncover this ultimate realization, a truth that will challenge everything you thought you knew, but also offer the deepest peace you have ever experienced. If this call to rebellion stirs something inside you, like this video and subscribe so you don't miss the final revelation. The greatest transformation lies just ahead. At the heart of every journey toward truth lies a final, transformative revelation. A truth so profound it redefines not only how you see the world, but how you experience your very existence. Imagine standing on the edge of an abyss where fear and wonder intertwine, and realizing that the abyss is not something to fear, but a mirror reflecting your deepest self. This is the ultimate truth that visionary thinkers like Alan Watts, Carl Rogers, and Eckhart Tolle have echoed through their teachings. That reality is not a fixed battleground of comfort versus truth, but a living, breathing paradox where both must coexist. Alan Watts, the great philosopher of the East and West, spoke often about embracing paradoxes, urging us to see beyond the binary of good and bad, safe and dangerous, comfort and truth. He taught that suffering and joy are not enemies, but inseparable threads woven into the fabric of life. Carl Rogers, the groundbreaking psychologist, called this unconditional positive regard, accepting all parts of yourself and your experience without judgment, a radical embrace of reality as it is. Eckhart Tolle reminded us that the present moment holds the key to liberation when we stop resisting what is and begin to flow with life's natural rhythms. This final realization shatters the illusion that truth must always be harsh and comfort must always be soft. Instead, it reveals a dynamic dance where truth nurtures comfort and comfort grounds truth. It's a paradoxical freedom. You no longer run from discomfort because you see it as part of your growth. You no longer seek comfort as a shield but as a resting place between awakenings. Imagine the peace that comes with this understanding. The peace of knowing that your fears, your shadows, and your illusions are not enemies but messengers guiding you toward deeper wisdom. This awareness is not a destination, but a way of being. A continuous unfolding where every moment holds the potential for awakening. As you reflect on this journey, remember the words of Viktor Frankl, who found meaning even in the darkest places by embracing life's paradoxes. This ultimate truth invites you to live not in fear or denial, but in bold authenticity and compassionate acceptance. If this truth resonates, dive deeper with our playlists and videos that explore the mysteries of the mind, spirit, and human experience. The journey toward awakening never ends. Will you choose to walk it?